Welcome, everyone, and welcome to Yoga Month with the Whole You. We are so thrilled that you all could be here today. My name is Diana, and today we will be moving through a beginner-friendly flow with our teacher, our host today, Lochina Panapitiya. We're thrilled to have her here to teach and lead us through our practice this evening. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat or unmute to ask. We'll be here to support. We just ask that during our session, mics be muted so that noise doesn't carry through, but both Lochina and I will be here to support you all. Without any further ado, I'll go ahead and hand things off over to you. Thank you, Lochina.
Hi, I'm Lochina, as Diana mentioned, and I guess I'll just start with kind of like what to expect in today's class. So we'll start off with maybe some breath work and then go into a very slow flow moving meditation, and then end with a seated meditation to kind of round out the practice. And so with that said, why don't we all just get on our mats and then come into a comfortable child's pose. So if it's comfortable for you to have knees touching and coming into child's pose, that's totally fine. Otherwise, the typical position is big toes touch, knees are wide, and sit bones fall back towards the feet in our reclined child pose. So just take a moment to get settled into that pose. And then bring awareness to your breath. Take a few moments to just notice how the breath is feeling as it comes up through the nostrils and as it exits out the nostrils. Another deep inhale in. And then exit out. Continue like that for another 3 to 5 breaths. Just deep inhale in, and then a deep exhale out. And then we'll come into something that I like to call a 2x breath, which is basically breathing in for the count of 2 breaths, and then breathing out for the count of 2 times whatever that number of breaths is. So why don't we breathe in for the count of 2, 1, 2, and then exhale to the count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, inhale to the count of 3 now. And then exhale to the count of 6. And then a deep inhale to the count of 4. And then a long, deep exhale to the count of 8. Continue like that with the exhales being longer than the inhales for another 3 rounds on your own. So again, an inhale, deep inhale, and then a long exhale. Perhaps the hips kind of settle towards the feet, more towards the feet on the exhale. And maybe on an inhale, you reach upwards with the fingertips towards the front edge of the mat. Do one more inhale just like that. And then a deep exhale out. And then slightly come into all fours, shoulders over wrists, knees under the hips. And let's thread the needle. Lift the right hand up on an inhale, and then exhale, thread the needle underneath the left hand and stretch the left hand out in front of you. Go ahead and have a deep inhale here. Notice the rib cage expand on the inhale and then contract on the exhale. Do 3 more breaths like that on your own. And then on the bottom of that last exhale, walk the fingertips back towards under the shoulders. Lift with the right hand up to the sky. Then on your exhale, bring the right hand down. We'll do the other side now. So with an inhale, lift the left hand up towards the sky. And then thread the needle on your exhale. Lower down and stretch the right hand out in front of you. Again on this side, on your inhale, notice the rib cage expand. And then on your exhale, notice it contract. Do a couple more breaths like that on your own, feeling the breath through the body. Perhaps on that inhale, you find a little bit more space. You can reach a little bit further with the right hand. On that last exhale, walk the fingertips back towards under the shoulders. Reach up to the sky with the left hand. And then put the palm back down to the ground, stacking the shoulders and stacking the hips on the knees. And then we'll come into a couple of cat cows to awaken the spine. So on an inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, push the sit bones to the wall behind you. And then on an exhale, arch the spine towards the sky. Again, drop the belly, lift the gaze, press the sit bones behind you. Then on an exhale, arch the spine, point the head towards the ground, and lift towards the ceiling. Do 3 more like that on your own. Inhale, drop the belly. Exhale, articulate the spine towards the ceiling. 1 more. Make it your good one. And then exhale, articulate the spine towards the ceiling. And then come to a neutral position and slowly push back into downward facing dog. Keep the knees bent to start off with, since this might be the first downward dog for your day. Really press the 4 corners of your hand into the mat. So all the knuckles pressing down, the bottoms of your palms pressing down, and push the mat towards away from you. And then bring your awareness to your shoulders. Are they kind of slumping over, or are they straight towards the back wall? To push more towards that. And then bring your awareness to your legs. The knees should be just above the feet and below the hips. Keep them bent if that feels good to you. And then slowly maybe start to straighten one knee and bend the other, getting a good stretch down the hamstrings. And then alternate sides. Bend the right knee, straighten the left, and keep doing that. Maybe alternating it with your breath. Inhale, straighten the right knee, then exhale, switch, and inhale, straighten the left knee. Do a couple more like that so that we're stretching the back side of the body. And then on your last breath, come into a downward facing dog. with the knees bent or legs straightened now. Take a deep inhale in, and then exhale out and see if you can sink a little bit deeper into that dog. And then on your inhale, come into a plank, lower down slowly, and then come into a cobra. So make sure that the palms of the hands are right below the shoulders and closer to the rib cage, and press the tops of your legs, of your feet, into your mat. Really engage the legs, the knees should come off the mat, and maybe even compress the glutes. As you build from that, from the ground, from the feet up, then try to lift the shoulder blades a little bit off the ground and push the center of your chest into the front of your wall, towards the front of the mat. And then take an exhale and lower down. Do another one like that. Lift the head, engage the legs, and push the sternum into the front of the wall. And then exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift again. And then exhale, lower down. Do one more like that. Lift, arch the belt, arch the spine towards the front of the mat. And then lower down. And then come back into a downward facing dog. And then slowly walk towards the front of the mat. And come into a ragdoll position. So the head is heavy. Legs are right underneath the hips. And maybe the hands touch the elbows, alternate elbows. Maybe you're swaying from one side to the other. Feeling a nice long stretch down the side bodies. And just kind of dangle for a while. Maybe on your inhale, you're moving to one side, and on your exhale, you're moving to the other. Just stay there for a little bit longer. And then trickle the fingertips towards the mat. And then halfway lift. Hands can come towards the shin, or they can stay on the ground, but then halfway lift on your inhale. And then forward fold on your exhale. Again, halfway lift on your inhale. And then forward fold on your exhale. One more time, halfway lift on your inhale. Then forward fold on your exhale. Then on your inhale, rise up, reach up. Try to stretch your fingertips towards the sky. And then hearts come to center, or hands come to center. And take a moment there to just notice how your body feels. Maybe do a quick body scan. Maybe your heart rate is already a little bit up. Maybe there's a little bit warmth down your body. And then on your inhale, again, rise up, reach up. Then on your exhale, forward fold. On your inhale, halfway lift. And then forward fold and come into a plank pose. So in your plank pose, you can stay in proper plank, or you can drop the knees down and kind of use your knees to support you in plank. Either way is totally fine. Once you're in plank pose, then take an inhale in, and then exhale and lower down, chest to the mat. And then push into that cobra pose that we were working on earlier. And then exhale, drop the head, and then push back into downward facing dog. Take one inhale in here, and then an exhale out. And then on your inhale, walk towards the front of your mat. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And then rise up, reach up. We'll do that flow 2 more times. So rise up, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, come into your plank pose. So that could be knees down or knees up. And then lower down to the mat and push into your cobra pose. And then exhale, lower down. Inhale into a downward facing dog. And then exhale, step to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Then exhale, forward fold again. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And then push into your plank pose. Knees down, and then chest down. And come into your cobra on your inhale. And then on your exhale, lower down. Then inhale, push back into downward facing dog. Take a moment here, maybe 3 breaths, to kind of feel your body in this pose. Maybe you want to walk the dog. And then on the bottom of your next exhale, step up to the front of the mat. Halfway lift on your inhale, lower down on your exhale, and then rise up and reach up. And then palms to the center, and take a moment there to notice how your body feels. Again, rise up and reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale into your plank, lower down. And if upward facing dog is in your practice, feel free to come there. But that's just the knees are lifted, legs are placed into the mat, and you're lifted, and your sternum is towards the front of the mat. Otherwise, just stay in your cobra. And then on your exhale, forward to the mat, push down into a downward facing dog. And then on your inhale, lift the right leg up and come into your warrior one. So warrior one is your ankles are underneath your knees are bent at a 90-degree angle, and your back foot, the palm of your back foot is placed on the ground. Really press into that left foot so that you're a bit more stabilized. And then reach the palms up. Take an inhale here, and then exhale out. And then hands to the mat, and come into your chaturanga. Lower down, come into your cobra, and then lift into a downward facing dog. And then lift the left leg up and come into a warrior one, and then lift up into your warrior one. On your exhale, come back down, then flow through your chaturanga, lift into a cobra, and push back into a downward facing dog. And then step to the front of your mat. On an inhale, halfway lift. On an exhale, forward fold. On your inhale, reach up, rise up. And then exhale, inhale, reach up, rise up. And then exhale, forward fold. On your inhale, halfway lift. On your exhale, push back and come into your plank and into your cobra. And then cobra or upward facing dog. And then on your exhale, push back into downward facing dog. And then take a moment here. Inhale in, deep exhale out. Lift the right leg. Come into your warrior one and lift up through the palms. And then on your exhale, come into a warrior two. Warrior two is just kind of the same thing as warrior one, except your palms are straddled out in front of you and gaze is over the front fingertips. Do one more breath here, in, and another deep exhale out. Do another inhale in, and then a deep exhale out. And then wind back down into your plank, go into your cobra, finish your chaturanga flow. And then push back into downward facing dog. And then lift the left leg up, and we'll do that same thing on the other side. Come into your warrior one, rise up, reach up. And then on your exhale, come into your warrior two. And just kind of hang out here for a moment. Deep inhales in, and then deep inhales, exhales out. Do one more like that. Deep inhale in, and then deep exhale out. And then from your warrior two, come back into your chaturanga placement. So that's plank, chest to the mat, come into your low cobra or upward facing dog, and then push back into downward facing dog. One inhale in here, then one exhale out. Then one more inhale here, and then exhale, come to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Then inhale, rise up, reach up. And then palms in front of your mat, or in front of your heart. And then another inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, come to your plank. Knees down, chest to the mat. Come into your low cobra or upward facing dog. Push back down to downward facing dog. Lift the right leg up on your inhale. And then come into a warrior one. And then on your inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, come into warrior two. And then let's alternate the warriors. So reach to the front and then exalt your warrior. And stay here for a little bit. And then inhale, come back to your warrior two. And then come back to warrior one. And then kind of do your flow. Go into your cobra, upward facing dog, and then push back into downward facing dog. And then lift the left leg up. And then come into your warrior one. Rise up, reach up on your inhale. Exhale into warrior two. Flip the front palm to the sky. Reach forward and exalt your warrior two. And let's stay here for 1 or 2 breaths. And then lift back up into your warrior two. Come into your warrior one. And then flow out your chaturanga. So knees can come down, chest to the mat. Come into your cobra or upward facing dog. And push back into downward facing dog. Take an inhale here. Exhale, breathe out. Take another inhale in your downward facing dog. And then on your exhale, meet at the front of the mat. And then on your inhale, halfway lift, forward fold, rise up, reach up on your inhale. And then on your exhale, fold over again. And then inhale, halfway lift, exhale, forward fold. Come into your plank, knees can come down, chest to the mat for your cobra. And lift into your cobra. And then push back into downward facing dog. And then lift the right leg up. And come into warrior one. Well, a front lunge actually. Come into a front lunge. Left knee can come down and sink into that front hip. So you should get a really nice stretch in the left hip flexor on the left side, and then a nice outer hip stretch on the right side, and inner hip stretch on the right side. Take a nice inhale here, and then exhale out. And another inhale in, and then another exhale out. Lift that back knee if you can, and then revolve into a twist. So the right hand comes up to the ceiling, left hand is on the ground. You can also keep the knee down with this twist, just to kind of rinse out the spine. Then on an exhale, put the right hand back to the mat. Lift that knee, pivot the leg to come out, pivot the foot so that all the flat of the foot is on the mat, and then come into a side angle pose. From here, lift up into star pose, and I'll turn around so you can see. Lift up into star pose, and then put your hands onto your hips and sink the bottom of your sit bones back to the wall behind you and come into a forward fold straddle. So palms can come to the mat. You just kind of settle in there. Then halfway lift on your inhale. And then on your exhale, forward fold. On your next inhale, lift to your fingertips and then pivot to the back of your mat and come into that same lunge on the other side. The both palms are down, left knee is down this time, and just sink into that right hip. And then we're going to lift with the opposite arm and have a nice little twist here. Do one more inhale here. Exhale out. And then drop that hand down. And then lift on the other side and come into a straddle or come into a side angle pose. Do one inhale here. Exhale out. And then lift into a star pose. And then put your hands against your hips again, or maybe interlace the palms behind you and fold forward. This would be a nice stretch on the shoulder blades so that you can rinse out the shoulder blades. And then one more inhale in, and then exhale out, and lower the fingertips to the mat. Then pivot to the front of your mat, and we're back to the side that we started. Push that foot back into your plank, lower down, come into your cobra, and then push back into downward facing dog. One inhale here, and then deep exhale out. And then step to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Then inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, jump back into your plank. Knees can be down. Chest lowers to the mat. Come into your cobra pose. And then push back into downward facing dog again. And then lift the right leg high into the sky and come into a pigeon pose. The pigeon pose is your right knee against your right wrist, and then your ankle underneath your left wrist. You can also use your fingertips to kind of prop you up a little bit to get a little bit more aligned. Your back foot can be against the balls of your toes, or it can be on the front of your foot. And then lower over that front leg. You don't have to go all the way down. Even right here is beneficial for the pose. Option to kind of, overlay the palms and put your forehead on the back of your palms. It'll be here for a while. So maybe do 3 deep inhales and exhales on your own. And then on the bottom of your next exhale, Lift on out of that. Come into your downward facing dog. And then lift the left leg and come to pigeon on the other side. Similarly, use the fingertips to prop yourself up. And then lower over that front leg. Again, you don't need to go all the way down to the floor. You can, use your hands to kind of prop you up on your elbows or overlay the palms, and you can put the forehead on the back of your hands. We'll take 3 deep inhales here and exhale out. In the bottom of that next exhale, come back to your fingertips, wiggle your way out of pigeon, come into your downward facing dog, maybe stretch out the feet. And then on your exhale, come into your plank, knees can come to the mat, and then lower down to your bellies. Take a moment here just to notice how you feel. And then we'll do 1 round of locust. So engage the legs again like we did in our cobra pose. Lift the palms and then lift the chest. And try to articulate the arch of your spine. So sternum towards the front of the mat and feet pointing very strongly towards the back of your mat. And then on your exhale, lower down. And then slowly flip over and come to your back. Knees can come to the chest to kind of relieve some of the tension in that small back bend that we just did. Maybe move the knees side to side. Maybe do circles with your knees, rotating the circles on the other side. And then squeeze the knees into your chest. Relax a little bit, and then turn the hips towards the left and come into a supine twist. So legs are towards the left, right arm is straddled out in front of you, to the side of you, and gazes over that right arm. We'll do a couple of breaths here. Deep inhales in, and then maybe on the exhale, twist a little deeper and lower into the ground. And deep inhale in, and then lower into the ground. One more inhale, just like that. And then exhale. On your inhale, lift the knees back to neutral position. And then we'll do that same thing on the other side. Pivot the knees to the right. Left hand is straddled out to the side of you. And the gaze is over those left fingertips. Maybe use the guidance of your right hand to make this twist even deeper. Inhale in. And then on your exhale, twist a little deeper. Inhale again. Exhale. Twist a little deeper. One more inhale, just like that. And then twist a little deeper. And then lift back up into neutral position. Squeeze the knees to the chest. And then come into your happy baby. So happy baby, if you have the mobility to reach for the toes, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you can just use the backs of your thighs to kind of push the knees towards the mat. So you can be here, pushing here. You can even, use your shins to push towards the back, towards the mat, or even grab the toes and then push the knees towards the mat, and maybe the lower part of your spine tries to come down towards the mat. And take an inhale here. Do one more push towards the mat on your exhale. And then bring the knees close together. Give another really big squeeze towards your chest. And then exhale out into Shavasana. So feet are wide, hands are wide away from the torso, and just sink into the mat. Let the feet, the knees, the hips, shoulders, elbows, arms sink into the mat. Let the eyes in your sockets sink towards the mat. Let the corners of your lips sink towards the mat. Let the throat sink towards the mat. And just be. Awareness can come towards the breath, whether that's by the nostrils or maybe the chest, slowly lifting and releasing on your exhales. But just notice how the breath starts to settle and come back down to a resting heartbeat. We'll be here for a few more minutes. With each breath, maybe you inhale a little bit higher and then exhale deeper into the mat. take a deep breath in, and then a long, audible exhale out. Just let everything out. And then bring awareness to the toes. Maybe rotate the ankles around, move the knees, wiggle the hips, bring life into the fingertips. Maybe move the elbows and the wrists. And then reach up above the head and stretch out the limbs in opposite directions. Just start to waken the body again. And then lift the knees into the chest. Roll to your right side and come into fetal position. Take a moment here to honor your body for what it just did and have gratitude towards how it functions. And then on your inhale, press into the ground and lift yourself up into a seated position. And then take a moment to get comfortable here. We'll start, go ahead and start our meditation practice. So options for meditation can be in cross-legged position. You can have a cushion, if you have a cushion nearby, or a block to sit on the block. Another option is to maybe sit with the heels against the sit bones and come into kind of, the backs of your shins against the ground. All are varying options. You can even sit on a chair or a cushion or an upright chair if that's more comfortable. But yeah, get into a nice comfortable seated position. And then palms can be against the knees with the palms facing up, or the fingertips can be at the base of the spine next to the heels with the thumbs touching. And then rotate the shoulder blades back behind you and stack the shoulders above the hips. And then just take a moment to bring awareness to how your body is in this position. Notice any sensations, and then take a moment to adjust if necessary. And then take one inhale in, deep exhale out. And we'll start to bring awareness to our senses. So bring awareness to your ears and just notice any sounds that might be occurring. Maybe it's birds tweeting outside. Maybe it's the hum of your computer. Maybe it's the sound of distant music in a different room. Just take a moment to observe these sounds. And then bring awareness to the eyes. I know your eyes are closed, but take a moment to just observe what they might be seeing in your mind's eye. Maybe it's flashes of color, maybe it's just pitch black, maybe it's shapes that your mind is creating. Just take a moment to observe anything that you might be seeing with your eyes closed. And then bring awareness to your tongue. Notice what it might be tasting. Maybe it's a sip of water, or that last bit of coffee you had towards the end of the day. Or it could be no taste at all. Maybe it's just the texture of how your mouth feels. Just observe there. Maybe you need to relax the tongue and let it droop down towards the jaw. Observe, and then let it do what it needs to do. And then bring awareness to your sense of touch. How the sit bones feel against your cushion or the mat or the block. How the legs feel against the ground. Or if you're seated in a chair, how the bottoms of the feet feel against the ground. How your clothes feel against your body. Just do your body scan and just notice how your sense of touch is occurring to you. And lastly, bring awareness to your sense of smell. Take note of anything that you might be smelling, whether it's the floral fragrance of any flowers or plants nearby. Maybe it's the perfume or cologne that you wore today. Just take a moment to notice what that sense of smell is showing up for you. And then bring awareness to your breath. Notice as the air flows in through the nostrils, and maybe that sensation is cold and cooling to the body. And then notice how the air exits the nostrils and how that breath is warming and releasing from the body. Just notice how the breath feels right there, below the nostrils and above the upper lip. Just observe. Perhaps your mind starts wandering through some thoughts. Just notice what those thoughts are, acknowledge them, and then bring your awareness back to the little patch of skin below the nostrils and above the upper lip. Notice as the breath moves in and then exits out. Again, notice how it moves in. And then notice how it feels when on an exhale. Continue observing the breath as it moves in and out of the nostrils. And observe that sensation right below the nostrils and above the upper lip. And then as the body begins to settle and the mind begins to settle, allow the words "let go" to slowly bubble up in the mind. We'll use this as a mantra to begin our mantra meditation. Just notice how the words "let go" bubble up in the mind. And just repeat to yourself, let go, on and on in your mind's eye. The rhythm of the phrase can be fast, or even much slower. Do what feels right to you, whether you want to think of let go, let go, let go, or if you want to think of let go and slower down the pace. Just do what feels right to you and just repeat to yourself, let go, let go, let go. Like before, maybe you see yourself getting lost in some other thoughts. Just observe and acknowledge those thoughts. And then come back to the phrase, let go, let go, let go. Continue to repeat that for the remainder of the time. Go ahead and finish your last rounds of saying the phrase in your mind's eye. And then take a deep inhale in, and then one big exhale out. and let it all go. Take a moment to observe how your mind feels, how your body feels, any sensations that you might have noticed. Perhaps the shoulders are much more relaxed now. Perhaps in between the brows are more relaxed. Perhaps the forehead is more relaxed. Just take a moment to observe. And then on a deep inhale in, reach the arms up above you. Palms touch and meet in front of your chest in Anjali Mudra. Take a moment here to honor your practice and what it did for you, both your yoga and meditation practice. Just notice how some ways are similar between the two, and then some ways were quite different between the two. Take a moment to acknowledge that, and then palms to the third eye center in between the forehead. Bow down in gratitude to yourself. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, everyone. Really privileged to be able to teach you guys tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Wonderful. I would like to maybe open up the room for any questions between kind of like how to approach a meditation practice versus a yoga practice. You know, there are some ways that they're very similar, and then in some ways that they're very different.